Greetings everyone. Have you ever been invited over to somebody else's house as a guest for dinner and you weren't quite sure how to act? I've got a few tips I'm going to share with you to help you stand out amongst all the other guests so you don't embarrass yourself like I did years ago. I'll share those stories and more in today's video. If you've ever been invited over as a guest for dinner at someone else's home, you should feel honored. I don't care if it's a family member or a friend, being on that invite list means that the host has picked you out from probably a much larger pool of people and desires not only your company, but to prepare and share a meal. Now, how are you as a guest? If you're a bit unsure, then follow these next set of rules that I've laid out to make your impression as a guest really stand out. All of these rules that I laid out for you are ones that I have broken and totally embarrassed myself with good friends. I had to learn this the hard way. I don't want that to happen to you. The first thing I want you to do is make sure you acknowledge the invite in a timely manner. Don't wait till the last minute to say, okay, yeah, I'll be there tonight, or I'll be there even tomorrow. Give your host plenty of notice whether or not you can or can't make it based on the date that they gave you. Chances are they're not going to want to grab a box macaroni and cheese and make that for you. They're really going to step it up for a quite enjoyable evening. Give them the courtesy of letting them know, yeah, I will be there for sure, plenty of time in advance so they can get out to the grocery store, buy enough food, and make all the preparations necessary, not wait until the last minute to get stuff done. The next thing I want you to do is make sure you arrive on time, but there is a catch. You have a very small window. I'm gonna say 10 to 15 minutes. Don't think of it as you're going to be late, but the worst thing that you could possibly do is arrive early. This is something I just never got. I would show up early thinking, yeah, I'm gonna be that guest and show up early and hang out and we're gonna have a good time. I'd walk in and my hosts are still running around. They're in the kitchen, they're doing stuff, they're making final preparations, then they're coming out and like, hey, you okay, you need something? All right, I'll be right back. And then they're gone and we're not even talking. And it's all my fault. I'm the one who showed up early while they were still getting things ready. Don't arrive early, but don't arrive too late. Be on time. You might find people or articles that argue this point and say arrive late, that's the safest way. I don't agree with that. Your host may have several things on a schedule, and you arriving late thinking that you're doing them a favor actually has caused them to deviate from that schedule they've already laid out. Don't arrive too late. Give yourself just 10, maybe 15 minutes. I think that's a stretch. The best thing to do, just arrive on time. Obviously, if you are running late and you're gonna be past that 10-15 minute mark, be courteous and let your host know, and also give them an estimated time of your arrival. Now here is the big one. This is the one that I was most embarrassed about. You never show up empty-handed. Always bring a gift, bring something. You may, once you get that invite, ask, is there anything I could bring? A side dish, a dessert, something like that. Oftentimes the host says, nope, just bring yourselves, I got everything else under control. When they say that, don't pay them any attention. Ignore it. Never show up empty-handed, and let me explain why. There is a lot of work that goes into hosting dinner for family and friends. Bringing a simple gift simply acknowledges the work and costs of having you over for dinner. It doesn't have to be anything big. It could be a simple bottle of wine. If they don't partake in wine, grab some flowers from the grocery store. Just give them something to acknowledge everything that went into having you over for dinner. Years ago, my social life underway, I was invited over and showed up empty-handed. Had a great time, got invited again, and I did the same thing. One of the more embarrassing times, I didn't know any better. Then it got to a point I wanted to reciprocate and invited them over. Well, sure enough, they show up, they bring gifts. I'm just like, then it started clicking. Wow, I didn't do that. Don't be the guy that shows up and just chows down and then leaves when it's over. I was so embarrassed. I don't want that to happen to you. Never show up empty-handed. The next thing I want you to do is when you are over there at your host's house, please ignore this thing. Put this away, put it on silent. Don't bury your face in it. Now, there are some exceptions to every rule, of course. You know, if you have a situation going on with your personal life, your family, or maybe a babysitter or something like that, obviously there's an exception to that rule, but for the most part, leave that thing alone. Only one big thing that you can do is to be complimentary. Complimentary of the home, complimentary of the setting. the way the table looks, the plates, the silverware, napkins, napkin rings, complimentary of the food. Give compliments just to acknowledge the work that was put into everything. I get so worked up when I make something and I'm like just dying to know if it's liked, if it's okay, if it's cooked right, if I'm grilling a steak, is it cooked the way you like it? Does it need to go back on the grill? I go through so much stress up here. It's crazy up there when I'm hosting. I need to know if everything is okay. And don't be that guy that shows up empty-handed, you sit down there, you're wolfing down food and you got nothing to say to your host. Come on, give them a little courtesy, give them a little respect, show them how much you appreciate everything that they've done for you. A couple of bonus things that you can do as a guest to really make your presence stand out and get that second invite. Pay attention to the glasses. If there is wine being served, if the host especially, the wine is starting to get low, offer to pour them a glass of wine. Simply because they are paying attention to everybody else, trying to make sure everyone's happy, making sure everything is right and set and there's no issues, and making sure your glass is full. Be the guest that keeps an eye on your host. Another bonus tip, probably shouldn't be a bonus tip, but offer to help clean up, either doing the dishes, clearing the table, just do something. A lot of times hosts will say, nope, you just sit right down. I'm gonna make some coffee, we're gonna have dessert, or whatever the case may be. Just do it anyway. Get up, clear your own setting at least, grab something else just to offer some assistance to your host. There's a lot going on and a lot that they're worried about. Just offer a helping hand. That's gonna make you really stand out. And finally, the last bonus tip is know when it's time to leave. All things must come to an end. You probably had a great time, great food, great drinks, but it's time to go. If other guests have already left, your host is looking at their watch, the conversation's getting kind of short or just kind of dying off, it's probably time to go. Your host is probably exhausted from all the work that they put in to have you over for dinner. Go ahead and give them the night off. And speaking of endings, that is the end of this video. Thank you. Follow these tips. Don't embarrass yourself like I did. I don't want you to have to learn the hard way. Follow these tips and you will be a guest that stands out amongst the rest in a good way. If you like this video, please be sure to drop me a thumb. Really appreciate that. And don't forget to, wait, here it comes. There it is. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video that I put out. I'm the Capable Gentleman, always showing you ways to go from dirty to dapper and to encourage you to never stop learning. Until next time, be kind, everyone. See you next week.